And it's time to check in with Paul Finebaum, presented by Allstate, a night after Ohio State wins the national championship, taking down a very game Notre Dame team. It was 31-7 at one point. Ohio State held them off after Notre Dame had a furious comeback. We've seen it out of them all year. So, Paul, let's start there. Just your overall impressions of Monday night's national championship.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a couple of plays away from being a blowout, Matt. Penalty here, fumble, and I'm glad it wasn't because I think Notre Dame deserved at least a compelling game, and they got it. As far as Ohio State, yeah, they started the season as the most talented team. They ended as the most talented team. They'll be probably preseason number one. And I think we can finally put an end to this Ryan Day thing. But what is somewhat irritating is some of the pundits that we work around and work with acting like this did not exist. It did. It was a real issue the Thanksgiving weekend after the debacle as nearly a 3-touchdown favorite. So that's over. I think he can now worry about the parade and then getting ready for Arch Manning first weekend of the year. But I don't want to jump ahead, but I don't remember when we have on the calendar maybe a more compelling opening weekend game. I mean, we may have a 1-2 on that Saturday in Columbus.
Yeah, if it's a preseason poll, then the rankings are going to be wrong. But either way, I look forward to the start of next season as we wrap up the entirety of this season. I was there, and it was as 50-50 split as you could see at a national championship, which I thought made the atmosphere look great. I should also apologize for my background. It looks like I'm being held hostage. I am not. I am actually at the offices here at TGL. Flew right down for TGL tonight. So that's
By
why.
the way, I'm glad you got out of Atlanta. Some of my friends are still
Oh,
online.
I was hour and 45 minutes. I ran to my gate as they were boarding Group 6 and
Oh
almost
my
didn't make
goodness.
my flight down here to West Palm Beach. But as for last night, I had gotten some heat for this during the pregame show yesterday because our friends at ESPN social media put it out there. I had said, Paul, I said that Ohio State largely has Michigan to thank for being in the national championship game. And people flew off the handle. Well, what the hell does that mean? Why this? I said, well, look, if they don't have that poor of a performance against Michigan, they don't have the wake up call to become the best team in the country 2 weeks later against Tennessee. I genuinely believe they could have coasted into that. I'm not saying they would have lost to Tennessee, but Paul, that Michigan loss put the foundation for this 4-game title run. I firmly believe that because that was rock bottom for them, and they had to figure it out quick, and they did.
Matt, I'm going to be the arbiter. You are 100% correct, and everyone else is 100% wrong. And here's why. Uh, had they won that game, however sloppy it may have been, they then go to the Big Ten championship game. So they have another game they play against Oregon. I mean, I think they may win it, but there's nothing to gain from it. And they would not. They may have laid the egg somewhere else. Sitting there waiting for maybe Notre Dame, maybe somebody else. And I think the fact that they got to sit there and stew, and it forced Ryan Day to do something he admitted all weekend, and you know it, that they had to. They admitted they were wrong.
Yeah.
They took a good long look at themselves, and they came back. And cliches overboard here, but it was the best thing that happened to them. And quite frankly, Ryan Day and the Buckeye Nation need to personally call Sharon Moore and the University of Michigan and thank them and maybe even let them hold the trophy because I don't think Michigan will ever hold the national championship trophy again. Now that Jim Harbaugh is gone, so I think they really need to come together and sing "Kumbaya." But just to say you're wrong is absurd. There's no way this would have happened.
Yeah. And look, I'm not going to compare a football game to real life, but you hear people who hit, rock bottom or whatever circumstance they're in, and they understand that it wasn't until they experienced that they couldn't build themselves back up. And for Ryan Day, the vindication, you heard Herb Street allude to it on the broadcast a little bit last night about how he's friends with Ryan Day and some of the stuff that he's been told about people in the area, what they've done to his family. From now on, and look, Ohio State's losing a lot of talent to the NFL. Ryan Day, for me, for the rest of his time in Columbus, has a blank check. The second you win a national championship and become one of the fifth, I believe it was fifth or sixth coach to win a national championship at Ohio State, you're among the greatest of all time at that school. And to go through what he went through and to handle it the way he did with class and then win the title, if I'm him, I would give two foam middle fingers, but he's not going to do that because it's his program now as long as he wants it.
Ohio State fans are no different than anybody else.
Right.
They want their program to win the rivalry game and to win big. Let's all calm down a little bit. Everybody has those fans, and thanks to those fans, we have jobs, Matt.
Yeah, if fan is short for fanatic, and that you can use fanatic however you like. We've seen the fanatic, and and we've said it countless times, it's what makes college football great. The passion with which these fans adopt their program. Sometimes it gets out of hand. A lot of times it does. But Ryan Day did what he was supposed to do. They spent money on Will Howard, huge in the championship game, set a championship game record for consecutive completions. They spent money on Quinshon Judkins, who scored 3 touchdowns in the national championship game. And so he did what he was paid to do, and now he's a national championship winner. On the flip side of this, I think Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman, my opinion of them is status unchanged going into the game, because we'd said this a couple of times. I thought Ohio State was going to blow them out, win by double digits. They did. But Marcus Freeman has unlocked the keys to Notre Dame, and I think you're just starting to see the beginning of the resurgence of Notre Dame being an annual playoff contender.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, Notre Dame was really the biggest winner of the playoff. I know they didn't win, but they are now considered among the very elite in college football. It's been a while since that's the case, and I think he's also become one of the faces of the sport. He's so engaging, he's so charismatic and likable. I mean, I've never rooted for Notre Dame. It wasn't a big deal. I just grew up, and Notre Dame was always. But it was hard not to pull for Notre Dame last night, and so in many ways it was an amazing story. And I think players are, for the first time in generations, are now looking at the TV, going, I think I may give Notre Dame a shot, as opposed to why would I want to go up there and play in the cold?
Yeah, and I mean, look at how last night transpired. 31-7. I'm sitting there going, oh, hell, this is going to be Georgia TCU all over again. But it speaks to Marcus Freeman and the foundation he's building there in South Bend, that those guys got up off the turf and had an opportunity to go down and tie the game with a 2-point conversion and a touchdown in a game that was over. And I think that speaks more to what Marcus Freeman is building, even more so than what they did to get him there.
Yeah, I mean, we'll find out within minutes. But when Judkins had that big run in the third quarter, I mean, you could almost hear TVs going off on the East Coast. What was the point? So I give him credit, and I know there's a lot of typical. Well, did he make the right call on the field? It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
It really doesn't. I think Ohio State had that play. I mean, they were playing possum. You know that, Matt. You were watching it. So, I mean, ultimately, it's a minor event. This isn't James Franklin. This isn't a big deal. But anyway, I mean, Marcus Freeman is such a big winner. And I am so excited for him and for that program that has really been through the mud. And the whole Brian Kelly thing. I mean, you think Brian Kelly turned it off at halftime too, maybe thinking that his team, Notre Dame, wasn't going to win?
Yeah, when you see that, when Ryan Day kicks the field goal, you're like, I mean, he's really trying to get as many points as he can and bury Notre Dame. But again, to their credit, I would say this: if I'm buying stock in a coach in a program, I'd be hard pressed not to put Notre Dame in the top 3 of that stock. I think sky's the limit. They just made $20 million last night that they don't have to share with anyone. Their coach is cool. He wears fitted suits. He could kick any other coach's ass in the country. And now Notre Dame is here to stay, and Ohio State, we'll see how they move on from this championship game run. I might turn